You were debating about going to. So you were 19, correct? About that time when the war ended, you were 19.
Yeah.
You were 19? I thought you were a lot younger than that. I thought he was 15.
When were you born?
So he was born in 1928. When did the war end in Europe?
1945.
Well, that was in Japan, though, right? It ended in Europe sooner, right?
Well, not that much. May in Japan ended in August.
Hitler killed himself on my birthday.
Yeah, that was
Oh
quite a
my
birthday
gosh.
present, wasn't it?
Oh, I never put
But
that
what year?
together.
Wow.
What year?
What year was that?
45.
So how old were you in 1945?
From 28 to 45. Somebody do the math.
38?
17.
So you were 17 when
Okay.
he killed himself.
So it could
So-
have been
Because you
19.
were actually enrolled in Hitler Youth, weren't you?
Oh, yeah.
And that didn't you say at one point that you were due to start active service in about 2 weeks before the war ended?
I had, yeah. Trying to figure out how that works.
Did you get some papers ordering you to report somewhere? Yeah.
It would have been about it.
Okay. And so were you planning to do that?
Well, from what I found much later, was that an uncle of mine, the husband of one of my dad's sisters.
Okay. So on your mother's side, your father's side,
Yeah, he was the burgomaster
uh,
in a small town.
is the Burgermeister the postmaster?
No, the
Mayor?
mayor.
He's like the mayor. Yeah.
The mayor, okay.
And from what I learned later on, he didn't pass it on to me.
'Cause did he know what it was?
Oh yeah,
So he was trying to protect you, or save you.
So what, did he somehow get your enrollment delayed or your entry into active service delayed or something?
not sure that I understand what you mean.
Well, you started to say an uncle of yours that was a burgermeister did something. What did he do?
Oh, we were staying at his house,
Uh-huh.
and he went to the mail that came in, and he never let me see the Einberufung.
The what?
The
Einberuf.
Einberuf, the
Einber-
letter,
Einberufung?
the letter.
The letter that was what, ordering you into service?
Uh-huh.
Oh, so you didn't even know that you had been ordered into service.
Not at that time.
Wow.
Yeah, I think Reinhold and Gunter told David and me that story when we went to visit on our honeymoon.
Oh yeah?
They told us how I think he wrote something that you weren't there, and so they sent the letter back to the sender, return to sender. I think is what it was.
Oh, just to try and delay things as long as possible?
Because they knew that the war was ending, and if you went at that time, it was basically, it would have been the end of you. Your uncle must have known that.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So he just said, "We don't know where he is. He's not here."
So lucky for us, you were saved.
Yeah, 'cause we wouldn't be here if that hadn't
Please
happened.
tell your uncle. My family is there too because of one uncle.
What is this?
Do you
Oh,
want- do you want
that
those
was
in
more
the album?
pictures.
He wants those in the other picture album. So, but Dad, So you were staying with your uncle, then what happened after that? Did you reunite with your own parents?
After the war was over,
You reunited after the war was over? Why were you not staying with them in the first place?
because mine was bombed out.
Oh, so where did your parents go?
My dad was on the east side of the Rhine River. He had a job there.
And where was your mother?
My mother and my dad came from the same small town,
Right.
Kaisersesch,
Mm-hmm.
and mother, the three boys, and my mother. We stayed at Uncle Wilhelm
In Kaisersesch?
in Omersbach, which is about a third the size of Kaisersesch.
Oh, wow. So you must have had a relative there?
Yeah,
His uncle.
Or
Yeah.
your uncle? Oh, the
So
uncle.
his mother,
Oh,
his mother and his brothers, and
oh, so
he
when you were
stayed
with
together.
Your uncle, your mother was there also.
yes.
Oh, okay. Okay. I didn't understand that. Okay.
So then everybody, your father and your mother reunited after the war, and everybody was together again.
Yes.
So did you have a house to move back into, or was it bombed out?
I'm trying to figure this out.
I'm thinking, Dad, what I remember when we went to visit, when we lived in Switzerland, when I was still a kid, and we went to visit your dad. I remember going to
The picture over there?
yeah, right. Remember going to the house. It's not where he was living then, but it was where you had been a child, and the house was still standing, but there were bomb scars on the walls. Does that? That's my memory, but maybe that's not
Repeat
correct.
it again.
So the house was still standing. It wasn't your father's house anymore, but it was the house where you had been a child.
Is that where there were strawberry gardens? That's the only memory I have of visiting that house.
Yeah,
It's
that's
something
where
about
that's where they
strawberry
lived at
gardens.
that time.
Oh,
So
okay.
I think we stayed with them there, but I think I remember them
No,
taking us.
that was in a different town. It was about
Was it? Yeah, I don't remember.
18 kilometers away or something
Okay.
like that.
And it was still bombed out when you went through there?
It wasn't bombed out, but it had like damage marks on the wall.
Well, my uncle had a house. How do you explain it? It was a farmhouse.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. That's where your uncle was living then, or that's where you were?
No, he was the Bürgermeister
Oh, okay.
of the town called Omersbach.
Uh-huh. Omas Bach?
Omersbach. You are
M-A-S?
Can you show that to us in your, where is your atlas? You had an atlas around here.
It's probably down here.
Yeah. So you stayed with your uncle until the war ended, and then you reunited and moved back to your house in Mayen?
eventually, yes.
Yeah. And then so you were still in the equivalent of high school at that point, right?
Yes.
And how did were you actually maintaining going to classes and maintaining your schooling? Because when you came to the
We went
States,
to classes in a different part of the area.
okay, because it sounded like you had a really thorough education before you came to the United States, because you only went to St. John's for 2 years, right?
Yes.
because you had enough education in Germany that could transfer to St. John's so that you still earned a bachelor's degree after only 2 years at the university.
Right.
You got it, Missy. You got it.
Okay, so somehow through this war, you still managed to get enough education. You ended up with like 8 years of Latin, right? Which was essentially how you ended up having all these linguistic skills, because you can speak at least parts of how many languages? Spanish, well, of course, German, French, Dutch, a little Italian.
And
That's 5.
English.
Well, and of course, English, six languages. Rooted in Latin, right?
Yeah.
He says dismissively.
Are you impressed with yourself?
I remember growing up, Dad, when I was in French class, and anytime I would have a question about a French word, I could never just ask you, Dad, what does this word mean? Because I would get this long response about the entire history of the word and how it was rooted in Latin and how it was this and this language and that language. It's like, thanks, Dad.
TMI.
The,
So,
wait a minute. What is this?
well, I tried to write down the name of the town. Is that the correct spelling?
U-R-M-E-R.
Oh, U-R-M-E-R. Okay. Here,
Let me.
here's a pen.
This is a 12-minute video. I think it's like never going to upload.